Learning English doesn't have to be boring. In fact, the best way to improve is by living in the language, through stories, emotions, and a little chaos. So if you're ready to enjoy a fun travel story and pick up useful English along the way, stay with us till the end. He had only been in Barcelona for a couple of days, but he was already in love with the city. The buildings looked like something out of a dream, the food was amazing, and the streets felt alive, like the city itself was breathing. That afternoon, he decided to take a slow walk through the Gothic Quarter. It was one of the most famous parts of the city, full of narrow streets, tiny cafés, and hidden corners. As he walked, he could hear music coming from a nearby plaza. Drums, clapping, voices. He followed the sound, turning down a small street until he reached an open square. There, right in the center, a group of street performers was preparing for a show. A small crowd had already gathered. He stood at the edge of the circle, curious. A man with a headset was speaking rapidly, switching between Spanish, Catalan, and English. Two other performers were warming up, stretching, flipping, dancing. The music was loud and rhythmic. He clapped along with the crowd as the performance began. The dancers moved with incredible energy, jumping and spinning. The speaker kept the audience laughing, pointing at people in the crowd, making jokes. Then, suddenly, the performer with the headset pointed directly at him. "You, the guy in the blue shirt. Come on in, amigo." He froze. People turned to look at him. A spotlight, or maybe just the sun, seemed to land directly on his face. He smiled nervously and shook his head. But the crowd was already cheering, and before he knew it, two dancers had gently pulled him into the center of the circle. Now he was part of the performance. The speaker handed him a silly hat and started giving him instructions, half in English, half in dramatic gestures. "When I say olé, you jump," the man shouted. He nodded, wide-eyed. The music started again. He stood there awkwardly as the real performers danced around him, doing flips and tricks. Every time the speaker shouted olé, he jumped. Sometimes a little late. Sometimes too high. The crowd laughed, but in a good way. Then came the part where the dancers ran toward him, used his back like a launch pad, and flipped over him. He didn't know how to stand. Should he bend? Should he move? Too late. One dancer jumped, flipped over him, and landed perfectly. The crowd went wild. Another followed. And another. He was sweating by now, not from the heat, but from nerves. His heart was pounding, but he couldn't stop smiling. When the final flip landed, the crowd cheered loudly. The speaker raised his hand and shouted, "Give it up for our new friend from... Where are you from, my friend?" He shouted the name of his country, a little out of breath. The crowd clapped louder. A woman in the front row even handed him a small fan to cool off. The performance ended with a group bow. The dancers lined up, and he was in the middle. They all bowed together, and people started dropping coins into a hat in front of them. He stepped back quickly, not wanting to take any credit or money. But one of the dancers handed him a high five and said, "You were great, man." As the crowd began to move on, he stayed behind for a moment, trying to catch his breath. He hadn't planned to become part of a street performance that day. He just wanted a quiet walk. But that's what travel does. It throws you into unexpected moments. It pulls you out of your comfort zone and makes you laugh at yourself. Later that evening, he met some travelers at the hostel. When they asked about his day, he said, "Well, I accidentally became a street performer." Did you enjoy that? While you were following the story, your brain was learning real-life vocabulary, describing places, reacting to situations, dealing with surprises. That's how language sticks, through emotions and stories. So if this one made you smile, stick around. We've got plenty more where that came from.